Oh, well, hello and welcome back. Another great weekend, lovely and sunny outside, so shan't be in here too long, hopefully. But what have I got to show you today? Last week I talked about how I make my own custom pieces of the Super 4. So today I'm just going to show you about cutting these bases, rejoining them and making them so they fit into the layout like a standard piece. Just bring this to the camera. We've got standard piece there, second radius, and there's my homemade quarter section. There's no rails in that yet, but you get an idea of the sleeper ends, which marry up nicely and look good when they're in the layout. So we'll go over to the workbench in a minute and I'll just show you my technique for doing that. Here's R.357, nice old brush type 2. Fetched this out of storage and I thought we'd run it around the test track once I've freed it up, lubricated it and cleaned the pickups. These are a really nice old locomotive, so I'm thinking it's going to run round quite nicely, pulling a rake of wagons. So we'll get on with that a bit later. And finally, I've got this to show you. The clock of the week. Just finished repairing this, it's just undergoing regulation. Really nice old veteran car clock. Would have screwed to the dashboard via this bracket and kept the occupants informed of the time. This came to me from a friend of mine, Brian. So if you see this, Brian, I hope you like the look of it. It is going quite nicely now and it will be with you before too long. I just need to hang on to it a bit longer just to check the regulation and that it's running smoothly. It's just like a big pocket watch inside. In fact, I have got a shot or two of the movement, so I'll edit that in later. Just wind it up and then press the button and use the same winder to alter the hands. But a great piece of motoring history there, and it would even look nice just on the sideboard or anywhere, so nice. Anyway, let's put this back on the shelf. Just staying with the clocks for a bit, even though it's locked down, I've got a bit of a backlog. This is one that's undergoing some renovation at the moment. I've just started cleaning it, repinned a pinion down in there. I don't think you'll see it very easily, but they're just a pinion, 2 or 3 missing. And what I need to do now is drill out and replace some of these pivots. There's an awful lot of play, causing an awful lot of binding. So hopefully next week we'll have that one ticking away, be able to show you it. Americans, when they made these, it's fantastic really, they were just pressed out of fairly cheap brass and made, but they're still running today, sort of 120, 150 years after they were made. Quite amazing really. Not much stuff bought today that can last that long, I'm sure. Well, as I said before, thanks for looking back. We've got a few things to get on with, and yeah, I think if we can get the workbench cleared, there's a bit of clutter up there, we'll come back and join up some Super 4 track. Okay, I hope you can all see this okay. So what have we got here? Well, using this pointer, this is the piece of track I was showing you earlier. I've cut the rails, they are rusty, but we'll get to that in another video. You can see how nicely it all marries in, and that's just what I needed really. But what I now need is a small piece of straight. So I'm going to make a special length. Let's just clear the bench bit. Okay, now I better demonstrate that there are indeed two different types of Super 4. One with the welded on fish plate and one with the tabbed type fish plate. So I'm going to try and show you the difference. Basically the same to get the rails out on each one. Grab the rail there with a small pair of pliers and just move away the plastic base enough to free off these little tabs. So that, I don't know whether you can see, but there's a little hole there. Now these tabs locate through that hole. Now you can actually take these fish plates off because you fold them back and they come out of the rail, and then in the rail there's two little indentations. So they are an easier type to clean. Okay, put that to the side. Second type, the older and probably the more prolific type, are the spot welded fish plates. So similar again, grab it with a pair of pliers, move the sleeper bed away fractionally, enough to free off this little tab just here. And then you can see that this bed is slightly different because there's no hole. So you couldn't fit the tabbed type fish plate unless you made holes there, which you could do. But you can put the earlier fish plate in to the later piece of track, because it does indeed have the slopey bit of plastic. Now let me show you that the tab engages on. Just give me a second. There. So I'll just slip this in now. And that tab has located. So to take it out, we just move that, out comes the rail. The procedure is very similar for whichever type of track you're using. Okay, here's a scrap bit of track. I'm just going to show you how I cut it. So just get my blade up against the sleeper and then cut by pressing down. So there is your cut. Now when I do these joins, I stagger them. So I cut one against that sleeper and then one against that. So let's cut the second one on this piece of scrap. Now you can see my cuts. Okay, let's get to some useful bits of track now. Okay, this is the piece I want. I just need a half sleeper edge on the end to the right there. I've already cut that. And here is the end. Now you can see that I've done the longer cut where the locator is. So I've left that piece there, but on the other side I've cut adjacent to that sleeper. Now the first job to do is just file these ends level. So just using little file, just clean up the joints a little bit. I mean, it's a good idea to spend a little bit of time on this. For the purposes of this video, I'm just gently doing that. So there's that. And then on this, smooth those. Yeah. There. Right, we'll get ready for the gluing now. Okay, here are two sections. And now we just need some glue. Now I've got some, not desperately runny, but quite thick super glue, which you can get from model shops. So I'll put a little bit just there. Now, this often happens, blocked up. So here's a little bit of MIG wire actually. Let's try again. So I'll get a little bit of glue on there, a little bit on there. And then I'm going to place the two together, line them up. There we go. Hold them together. Now I'm going to give them a squirt with some glue accelerator. Now that's looking shiny because the accelerator is shiny. But once it's off, let's just get a brush and tidy that up a bit. Okay, so here we have our bespoke piece of track. So what we want now, really, some rails. So just for illustration, I haven't cut this yet, I'll put that in there. Now, obviously, because we've glued it, you need to be a little bit careful just putting the lug under, but as you can see, that's now located. Now I haven't cut these rails yet, but I'll thread in another from the other end, just like that, and let's join this to our existing piece of track. So what we have now is our special piece of straight finished. Of course, you need to cut these. Quite an easy job with a hacksaw, and then just file them. Obviously this one on the bottom end that's just there. So I've clipped both the fish plates in now, and then it's just a question of cutting these in exactly the right position. And how I do that is I just get a piece of rail that I know that is good, I measure how much is sticking over, mark, and then cut in the right place, and then just dress the end with a needle file, both sides and the top. Let me get that done. I'm not going to do that on camera, I'll just come back to you when I've done that. Okay, so there's our straight, and we need a second one the same. So I've carefully cut that and my end, and now we'll just glue them. So a little spot of glue there. Now this, as I said before, is the thicker non-runny glue, and then put them together, just line them up. that. Here's the accelerator. Gonna need some more of that soon. Let's just turn that round. There we go. Right, it might have stuck slightly to the base. That looks good. So now we have our second piece. Okay, you just make your rails, click them in, and that's another piece of bespoke track. Right now, I think it's time to get the brush out, take the bogey out and have a look and see what needs doing, and then we'll run it round upstairs once I've got it going nicely. Welcome back to the test track. So here's the brush connected up to a rake of slightly newer wagons. Let's give her a run. Starting off fairly slowly. Ah, it's interesting now what we can see. So it's a little bit hesitant on the curves. And I wonder if that's the locomotive or the wagons. As I said last time, these sections of track are not the cleanest, which is definitely a little hesitant around that second radius there. Still running quite nicely, happy with that, and I can fettle it up when the time comes for the main layout. Let's try a slower bit of running, see whether we can get some better shots of this lovely locomotive. I'm just going to try and zoom in a little bit. Hopefully you can watch this now. As she comes round this radius here. Great looking things these, especially in this green livery. Let's just increase and let the thing have a bit of a run round, free itself up a bit. I'm sure after half an hour on the layout it'll be a lot smoother. I think after such a long layoff that I'm really happy with this locomotive. I can tell it's going to be a great runner. Well, thanks for looking in again. Next time, perhaps do some more work on the metal parts of the rails. Have a look for another locomotive that we can perhaps bring back to life. and just start moving forward with my main layout. I will take a shot of the table I've built for the main layout, edit it in after this little running session. Right, well I think I'll just leave her running around for a little while now. Thanks for looking back again. Goodbye.